I invite to the show this morning John Atchley from South Pacific Bible College. Good morning, John. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, good morning, Kat. Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here.
Now, you're Australian, so does that mean you prefer Tim Tams to Chit Chats?
I didn't want to say, but look, that's how it's got to be.
Guilty as charged. All right. Well, we're
Yes,
not
please
talking about
forgive me.
chocolate biscuits, but they are a nice addition to a small group. So if you're thinking about buying some for your group tonight, keep that in mind. John,
Yeah.
I was watching over the weekend the incredible historical drama, the Angel
hmm
Studios, The Chosen Last Supper.
Mm.
And there was a particular section in it that really just struck a chord with me. And it was when Jesus was talking about the seed analogy. And he talks about unless a seed falls to the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Now, the disciples are like visibly confused and quite troubled by the scripture. They don't actually understand what Jesus is implying. Like some of them think, oh, maybe is he talking about he's going to die? Other ones are just completely perplexed. Some of them try to ignore it and brush it out of the way. But everything that Jesus says is intentional and for a purpose. Now, in
Yeah.
hindsight, we can see what's coming. They couldn't.
Yep.
But how do we apply this to our own lives? Because it's kind of scary when you think about it. The whole idea of dying to self
Mm.
in order to
Mhm.
bear any kind of fruit. But we know
Yeah,
it in principle. But how do we work this out?
that's excellent. That's an excellent line of thought you've already gone on, is we can apply this in the day to day. Um, I would love to pursue that. I'm kind of thinking about even the other line there is death itself is a very frightening, confusing, mysterious kind of thing. And Jesus is talking about that and looking to Easter like we are actually, right? Where he
Mm,
went on the cross and then rose from the dead. That's that's so counter to everything we know about reality.
mm,
People don't do that. People don't just rise from the dead. But the seed analogy is a useful one we need to turn to in a second there. But even just thinking about like resurrection, what does that mean to be resurrected? Like, what do you think? How do you understand it, or to have a
mm.
resurrection body? What does that even mean to you, Kat?
It's
Like,
so funny that you're asking me this because my husband was literally talking about this last night and he's like, oh, do you think
oh,
we'll still be married in heaven? And I'm like, probably not. I think we get resurrected and we're fully complete. But because we're fully complete and whole and healed in every aspect, we don't need marriage to complete us. Not that it should complete you, but you get what I mean. It's like on earth we have these needs and we try and fill these needs with people and idols and all kinds of things to kind of occupy our time, when all we really are
mm,
desiring deep down is that connection to God and his presence right next to
mm,
us, which we lost because of the fall. So when I think of resurrection, I don't really know what to expect.
yeah.
I actually don't know, but I'm hopeful that it will be wonderful.
Yeah, that's right. And like that transition that has to happen, Paul speaks about that. Yeah, like you said, First Corinthians 15, he reflects on this and he says, like, what kind of body are we going to have? What's it going to be like? He says, well, when you sow, you don't plant the body that will be. You sow a
Mm,
seed, just like Jesus says, that wheat or whatever, you sow it and then God gives it a body. So it's sowed perishable, but then it dies and sprouts, so to speak, and it's raised imperishable, in glory, in power, and so on.
So there is
And
going
that's
to
very,
be a
yeah,
discomfort to this dying process.
yeah,
It's like, I like the
yeah.
idea of the resurrection, the death part, not so fun.
No, that's right. Exactly. Exactly. And Jesus goes through that. He experiences the horror of,
Mm,
of death. And that can be very scary for many of us as we face that. But there's the hope. Jesus breaks through. The tomb breaks open, the seed cracks open, and out emerges a newness of life, something unfathomable,
mm.
actually. And I think about that. There's two other analogies I found really useful for this that helped me to make sense of it. One of them is the butterfly. Many of us have heard this analogy. The caterpillar eats, 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 goes into its cocoon. What they actually found is that it uses its own enzymes to digest itself. So it liquefies.
Wow.
That does not sound comfortable.
No. And it's
Even,
funny
no,
because it's like nothing like its original self, but it's still its original self.
That's the thing. They did some studies where even the brain liquefies, as far as we can tell. But they had
Wow.
these caterpillars.
I'm
I
just
know
picturing us going through that process.
yeah, I know. It's a little bit different, right? But maybe similar. Um, they did this study where they put this scent on the ground, and any caterpillar that got near it, they shocked. And then the caterpillar became a butterfly, went through that process. And when that butterfly would come near that same scent, it would run away, as if it remembered being shocked.
Wow.
So it is, even though it's completely different, it's the same creature, which is, how do you make sense of that? It just liquefied. But that's what happens.
It's amazing how God
Um,
speaks to us through his creation, right? He uses
that's right.
creation to tell his story and to make things
Yeah.
clear to us. If only we would take a moment to look around us and see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about the seasons, the cycle of the seasons. That's a story of resurrection every year,
Mm.
going through the cold and emerging into the sunlight again. And all the animals that do this, not just the butterfly, even us. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's a beautiful picture, isn't it? And I think that's the thing, right? Without death, we can't have resurrection. Like it had to
Yeah,
happen. It had to happen that way. We wouldn't have the
yeah.
hope that we have. So perhaps how can we be encouraged this Easter as we look ahead and we take stock of
Mm.
the gravity of what Jesus went through, but also the immense hope that we have because he was resurrected on the third day.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Jesus went through this not just so that he could prove his divinity. He did it because he was making a way forwards for us. So this is a symbol and a reality, an event, a historical event that connects with you today. And still, that can be hard to make sense of, but you've done it already. Every single one of us was Tim Mackey from the Bible Project. He gives this amazing analogy. Every one of us started off as an embryo in our mother's womb, and we didn't have sight. We were in a world of safe, contained kind of, we lived in that world. You didn't even breathe oxygen back then. You breathed liquid. But
Mm.
then, and you had no concept of a life after birth. You had no concept of pizza, starlight, radio stations, like no idea. But then one day you went through a great transformation. Bright light flooded your eyes. Your umbilical cord, your source of life, essentially was snipped. Your lungs filled with fresh, cold air. You cried. It was dramatic. It was scary. But out of that came a new beginning and a new life. Likewise, we will be resurrected. We will enter another phase of existence, just like Jesus. And that's the encouragement of Easter, I think.
Awesome. Well, let's leave it there. But I think there's an opportunity actually as we go about our weekend and we perhaps go away, spend time with family, enjoy some time off to actually look around us, right? Like look into nature and see the evidence, the story that God's telling us, and then find it in scripture. Thank you so much, John, for joining me this morning for Small Group. John Atchley from South Pacific Bible College. And if you'd like to find out more, you can go to spbc.org.nz.
Ah, amazing. I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss the next video.
We'll see you in the next one.